Welcome to Exploration Arcanum. My name is Jason. My guest today is Ashley Ryan, also known as Pythian Priestess. Ashley is the host of the Occult Unveiled YouTube channel and podcast. Ashley is here to discuss her journey into the occult, as well as being an occult-themed podcaster. I want to thank Ashley for joining me today. I'll put links to all of Ashley's work in the description below. Ashley, thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Jason. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk.
As I was saying before, and I'm happy to say it now, you are my favorite occult theme podcaster. I was watching your interview with Ronnie. Totally blew me away. We're talking about things I had no idea. What's it? Manly P. Hall.
Oh yes, I love Manly.
Yeah, I'm born and raised Los Angeles, and I have never heard of him. I've heard of Jack Parsons and Marjorie Cameron, and of course those people. But I'm like, how did I miss out on this? But before we get into that, let's start with you. Can you give us a little bit about how you became interested in the occult and what motivated you to start an occult-themed podcast?
Sure. So my fascination with the occult goes all the way back into my very early childhood at the age of 4. I was raised in a very, very austere Catholic household, and 2 of my great aunts were Benedictine nuns, and they wore their habits every day. And I must have done something for them to wonder if I would live a religious lifestyle, because they asked me if I wanted to be a nun, if I wanted to get married to Jesus. And my 4-year-old brain was like, being a nun doesn't have a lot of power. I'd rather be a priest. And that's what I told them. And they said, oh, you can't do that because you're a girl. And then I said, oh, okay, well, I don't care about this anymore. So I spent the most of my young life searching, trying to understand meaning of life, what is truth, what is reality. And I know that's a lot of heavy things for a 6-year-old, 8-year-old to digest, but that's where I was. And then in high school, when I started having access and more freedom to public libraries and the internet, that's when I really started my occult practice. So the first thing I started was tarot. I was just fascinated by these cards. I saw them at a Renaissance fair, and it was just a pulling, a knowing. I need to have these. I need to understand this. So pretty much right off the bat, I shared with my mother how excited I was about about finding these cards. That did not go well. Those are the devil's plaything, and they're evil, and I didn't care. So I just kept pushing and pushing. Finding secret ways to study. Unfortunately, in the early 2000s, there wasn't a lot publicly available, buy books. You could get stuff on Wicca, but most of it was pretty unknown to me. So when I was in undergrad, I started studying philosophy. And philosophy has many different realms, but the one that really triggered my imagination was ancient Greek philosophy. Plato, Aristotle, Socrates. Turns out they have actually a lot to do with occultism and esotericism, but it's all been kind of forgotten, or people read these because they're pretty upfront. Plato writes daemon, D-A-E-M-O-N, and everyone's like, oh yeah, don't worry about that. I'm like, but this is really important. So fast forward, let's see, that was about 8 years later. I'm in Los Angeles in the middle of the pandemic, like everybody else, spending a lot of time on TikTok. I had become TikTok famous before the pandemic for magic. I didn't show my face. I didn't share who I was because I was very afraid of doing that. And then during the pandemic, when I hit 100,000 followers, I said, cool, guess I have to share this now. People know, because a couple of people from my hometown found me. And I was like, oh, damn, you weren't supposed to see that, man.
That's what happens when you get internet famous.
Yeah. So there was, a lot of people have been very accepting about it. I think people are a lot more open now. But you still get those sticks in the mud who like say you're going to hell, and I'm like, cool, see you there, buddy.
Well, I'm kind of in the same boat because I first started looking into this right after about the mid 90s, right after the craft came out. That was my gateway drug to enter into this space. It kind of progressed from there, studying, Wicca, and I finally got into Thelema a little bit, and so it just kept going. It became like a rabbit hole. So what? Okay, so my next question then goes into the name. So who is Pythian Priestess?
Oh, so who is she? So Pythia, she's over there on my altar. Pythia was a title for the priestess or the high priestess of Apollo in ancient Greece at Delphi. So Delphi in the ancient world was considered to be like the center of the world. Very important place. And there were, at the height of Delphi, 3 Pythias. There were 3 priestesses. Pretty awesome job. You worked like once a month, maybe, if the sacrifices and the stars were aligned properly. And so Pythia really holds a very special place in my heart. When I was an undergrad studying ancient Greek philosophy, found out Socrates and Plato went to the Oracle. And Delphi, that trek is really long for an ordinary person. Like they didn't have cars and planes. Like this was a epic journey by foot. And when they got there, the Oracle proclaimed that Socrates was the wisest man in the world because he knew nothing. And I was like, okay, she's sassy. Men listen to her. Love that. Love that. I love that she has all this power. And more importantly, it really broke down that idea when I was a child that women couldn't be priests. And here is the Pythia priestess doing exactly what I was told I couldn't do 2,000 years ago. So I was fascinated. I fell in love. I went home. I secured emails. I secured usernames. But I never used them. I actually would not use that email, for 6 years. I wouldn't touch it. I would just have it.
So, but now in the show, Occult Unveiled, and we'll put links in the description below, Pythian Priestess is a part of the show. Like, you'll interact. So what was the idea behind that, and how did that evolve?
So the Pythian Priestess is a part of me. She is the educator aspect of me. She's the buoyant, excitatory, fun part of me. We all have different parts of ourselves. And Ashley is more of the analytical, scholarly study version of me. So when we started creating the show, I created the show with F Street Productions. There was this realization that, oh, wow, there's so much lingo. There's so much that people don't know unless you're in it deep, that we can't stop and ask the guest every, 3 or 4 minutes to explain it. So let's do a chime-in. I came up with the idea of chime-ins and the idea that Pythian would come in with her sassy attitude and explain what's exactly being talked about here. And that relationship between me and Pythian has really grown. It was very strange at first, but as the persona has grown, as I have grown, I've definitely seen that interaction become more seamless.
So when you're doing your show, and you're talking to like-minded people generally, but sometimes you come across people who aren't. So how do you handle people who are skeptical or criticize what you do? What do you say to that?
Oh, it's not my job to make you believe magic is real. I'm here to serve the people who do believe and who do want my help. I don't have to prove anything to you.
Excellent answer. Excellent.
Yeah, and if people are scared for my soul, say thank you so much. I will also pray for you.
Has there been any instances where it's become more intense, like someone is like just won't let it go?
In my personal life,
Yeah. You don't have to name anyone. I'm just saying, like, has it ever gotten more like...
I live a pretty small life. Although I live in a large city and I have quite a large following. I would have to say that I've been very grateful that all the people who I've come across have been very welcoming to me. And if people do have differing beliefs, that there's no kind of contention. I think that I'm not sure I don't think people are afraid of me, but I just don't handle that. Like, if you're going to be disrespectful, like, you can leave.
Right. Gotcha. Has there been anything that you've learned from your guests since starting the show that's been like surprising or particularly impactful?
Oh, yes. Yes. I think in particular, the magic of kitchen witchery was really exciting because I noticed in my life, there are food options, but my food cooking knowledge is pretty limited. So getting to see that kind of magic and how the world would be less hungry. I think about that tagline we have all the time, that if more people practice kitchen witchery, we'd be less hungry. I love that.
I
I
love that.
think, yeah, if I look back at some of the earlier seasons, Michelle Belanger definitely learned a lot about vampires. I was not familiar with that subculture. And obviously, we come from people from all across the world. So I'm always learning about different forms of magic through hoodoo. Our Pythian Priestess, Three Hoodoo Sisters, was amazing. I got to learn a lot about Haitian voodoo and how people there really do depend on it for more than just like a hobby like Americans do, but it's a lifestyle.
Right. If there was one bit of advice you would give to a practitioner who wants to follow in your footsteps, start a podcast, start a YouTube channel, what would that be?
Well, the first thing you need to do is budget your time accordingly, making sure that you have the time, the resources, and the energy. I'm so grateful that I have a team behind me who's able to help assist me in that, but it's quite an undertaking. It's so easy for us to just hit a button and we have the podcast in our ears, but the hours that it goes behind that for editing, for rewriting, for having to do pickups, it takes a lot of time. So that'd be the first thing, is if you're not going to be immediately making money off of this, you really need to learn how to get sponsorships, how to boost your viewers. There's a lot that goes into it, not to scare you away, but realize how to scale yourself. Your job is not done when you hit the upload button. There's so much more work that goes into it. I'd also recommend really learning how to automate. I think automation is really helpful. That would be a huge, ChatGPT has really changed a lot of our lives. And then lastly, becoming a public figure. Be ready for that. And sometimes it's nice, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, internet famous is not all it's cracked up to be.
No.
Is there, for someone who's just getting into I don't know if we want to just say the craft or magic in general, is there a book or something that you would particularly recommend, maybe a book or website for someone who's trying to learn, who hasn't any experience in this?
Sure. So there's so many layers to this. A lot of it's what angle do you want to come at this with? So if you're interested in Western occultism, I recommend Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages. That's a nice big fat encyclopedia, easy to read, that will help answer some questions for you. I also recommend Deborah Blake's The Eclectic Witch Book. Let me see. I usually have it right up here. Not today. But that's another really good book. Deborah Blake in general is really good for beginners. I highly recommend that. And just understanding, are you looking for ceremonial magic? Are you looking at earth magic? Are you looking at astrology? Because each one of those is going to bring you to a different place. But you have to sit down and think, where do I want to start?
For anyone who wants to follow you on social media, where will they go?
Well, you can find me on all the big socials, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all under Pythian Priestess. That's Pythian Priestess. And of course, you can check out the Occult Unveiled wherever you stream your podcasts.
And we'll put all those links to Ashley's work in the description below. Ashley, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it. As I was saying before, you are my favorite occult podcaster, and I've learned so much from you in just the short amount of time that I've been following your work. So when can we expect season 6?
Season 6 drops on Halloween.
Nice. Oh, so you've already got it planned out. All right.
Oh yeah, we're good to go. It's we've got a lot of it recorded already. We've got some pretty amazing guests. I'm really excited.
Nice. Well, thank you again, Ashley. I really appreciate it. And I hope you come back again. This has been an awesome conversation.
Aw, thanks, Jason. Have a great day.